So as long as you want to apply through the invitation scheme, the EOI invitation scheme, you need to calculate your own points before you can, apply an EOI or get an invitation from the government. Here is the invitation table. They will list all the categories you can calculate your points, or you can accumulate all those points to see how much points you have. The first one is age. We'll look at the birthday on the passport to calculate how old you are. The maximum one is, the best one is from 25 years old to 33 years old. So before the birthday of your 33 years old birthday, you'll have 30 points. So that's the maximum points of age you can get. The second one is called English language skills. English language skills, we're looking at IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, CAE. All those are the qualified or recognized English tests you can take to meet the English requirement. I would say most people are taking PTE instead of IELTS or TOEFL because it's easier, considerably easier to get higher scores in PTE than other English tests. So if you have PTE 50, you'll meet the entry requirements, but you will not be, you will not be awarded any points. But if you meet PTE of 65 in all four bands, you'll have 10 points, and PTE 79 in all four bands, you'll have 20 points. So the maximum points you can have for language is 20 points. The next one is work experience. So for work experience, we calculate both in Australia work experience and overseas work experience, but we only calculate those highly relevant work experience. Let's say if you are working as a business analyst, then yes, your work experience can be calculated towards the skill employment test. But if you are working as a Uber driver, or you're working in a restaurant, or you're working as a sales or marketing person, then it's not considered as a highly relevant if your nominated occupation is business analyst. So in this case, your work experience cannot be calculated toward the point test. So both overseas in skilled employment and Australian skilled employment are calculated, but we're only looking at the work experience in the past 10 years. So if it exceeds the time of past 10 years, then those ones cannot be calculated. The maximum points you can collect is 20 points. So you can have overseas 5 years for 10 points, and then Australian 8 years for 20 points, or any points from them, but the maximum you can get is 20 points. So the next one is the educational qualifications. So when we're talking about qualifications in Australia, the easier one to understand is for bachelor degree or master degree. For a bachelor degree and master degree, you'll have 15 points. And for a PhD, you will have 20 points. But if you have a diploma, or if you have any trade qualification, like you get certificate 4 for cookery, or if you have automotive certificate, you'll have a chance to get 10 points. So the maximum points here, if you complete the PhD, you'll have 20 points. Next one is for the extra points for STEM courses. So for STEM courses, you will have an extra 10 points, but it only awarded towards those graduates with a master by research and also PhD graduates. That means if you are doing the STEM course, but if it's a bachelor degree or if it's master by coursework, then you are not entitled to get the 10 points. It's only for the master by research and PhD. Next one is for the Australian study requirement. For Australian study requirement, if you have studied in Australia for 2 academic years, by 2 academic years, we're talking about 92 weeks. If you have completed a 92-week study in Australia and get an awarded, or you get a qualification, then you'll have 5 points for Australian study. So this one is quite easy to understand, I think. And for other points you can get, the first one is called CCL, which is the NATI certificate you can get. If you have community language course, you'll have the 5 points, and I think we do have some promotion on the CCL course if you want to apply for one, and Kenny will introduce that one later. And the next one is called the Study in Regional Area. If you study in regional area in Australia, for regional area, we're talking about any place apart from Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. If you have studied in those areas and you have studied for 2 years, 2 academic years, then you'll be awarded extra 5 points for doing that. Next one, we'll move to the completion of professional year. So for business graduates or for IT graduates, it's quite good because you can do the professional year to pass the skill assessment, and at the same time, completion of the professional year will give you 5 points. So that's very good compared to other graduates or other other nominated occupations. IT graduates and business graduates do have an extra 5 points compared to others. So these are the ones from before November last year. The point test table is awarded at this, but after November last year, we do have new category of points. That is for being single. If being single, you have 10 points, and if you have a permanent residency or Australian citizen partner, you'll be awarded 10 points. And if your partner can pass the skill assessment and at the same time meet IELTS 6 requirement, you'll have another 10 points. And at the same time, if your partner cannot contribute to pass a skills assessment, as long as they can have IELTS 6 or PTE 50, they will give you 5 points. But if they cannot pass the skill assessment and they do not have, good English level, then you will miss the 10 points. So the maximum points your partner can contribute to your application is 10 points. So yeah, it's very challenging one to see who are the true loves, So for the marital status, I have mentioned that earlier, and the last bit is about the nomination and the sponsorship from state government. So when we discussing the 189, 119, and 491 visa, we have touched on this part. But for 190 visa, as we mentioned earlier, the state government will give you 5 points. So if you collect these 5 points, if you claim these 5 points when you submit your EOI application, you can only apply for 190 visa. So as long as you receive 5 points from the government, then there's no chance for you to get the 189, but you can go through the 190 scheme. The next one is for 491. So if you claim this 15 points, you can only apply for 491 visa. But for 491 visa, it's not only for state nomination. Families, if you have a family in Australia, depend on what your relationship is. If it's a close family member, if it's a parent, if it's a sister, brother, sibling, or if it's a first cousin or auntie, uncle, you do have a chance to get 491 through family sponsor. It depends on where they live and what the state policy is. So if you do have a family, contact us and we'll see if you are eligible to be sponsored by the family member. So if your family member or the government would like to sponsor you for the 491, then you will have extra 15 points. So the passing mark for the whole point table is 65 points. That means you'll have a chance to get invitation as long as you meet 65 points, including the points the government can give you. But meeting the entry requirements does not guarantee that you'll receive an invitation from the government or from the state sponsors or state government. So for 189 visa, for the majority, including business analysts, you need to have at least 90 to 95 points to get the invitation. So 65 points is far from enough to apply for 189. But for 190 and 491, if you are in South Australia or if you are in Adelaide, Darwin, Tasmania, Hobart, if you can't meet the points of 65, there is a very high chance of get the PR. So that's why everyone is talking about regional area or regional sponsorship, because the requirements is much lower than those big cities. So here is a brief introduction of the point test. So if you have any detailed question, or if you have anything you do not understand or need to further explain, feel free to contact us and we can discuss your case in much detail.